The nitty gritty.
Yeah, I was interested in talking about it. So the reason that this came up in my mind here, I'll jump to the main stage so that I can, I put you on the main stage. The reason that I wanted to talk about this because I have been getting, I think one of the easiest ways to kind of, I don't know, not get an ROI from your advertising, especially meta advertising, is to, if your audience is too small, a lot of times what happens is Meta takes your money. They're happy to take your money, but they just show like the same small audience your ad like 1,000 times. And they don't, and so like, keeping an eye on the frequency is kind of important. Now, I mean, there would have been, if you were doing this, setting up your ad, there would have been other red flags ahead of that, like learning limited and things like that. That being said, if your ads are showing if you look at your ads and the frequency is higher than like 3 per week, then you are probably giving your audience ad fatigue, which is like, I don't know. It's like basically what that means is like people are tired of seeing your ad, and there's like a spillover into like diminishing return of showing some of your ad over and over again. And basically what that looks like is, there's a point where you say, there's like a sweet spot where you say, boy, I see these ads everywhere. And that's great. That's a great place to be, where the person registers, I see these ads everywhere, but they're not like irritated by it. Mm-hmm. And I think we've all kind of been in a circumstance where someone has given you ad fatigue, especially in the age of social media, where like you're getting the same ad over and over and over and over again. It seems like you're like their only audience member or whatever. They just really want you to get it. Sometimes I think the most time that I see that is in like retail or like abandoned cart situations. But I shouldn't say the most, because I think in those cases, I think it can make some sense to show the ad a lot. But usually in those cases, it's for a short amount of time, right after you've experienced like a high intent to buy that product, and then it goes away. Where I'm talking about the most is in the case of like small businesses where, perhaps you like to post of theirs to be a pal. And now you're like one of the only people who's ever liked their posts because they don't post very often and not very consistently. And so now you start seeing their advertising all the time. And so if you've ever interacted with like a smaller business that's running advertising, it's kind of like a dead giveaway of someone who's set up their advertising improperly. Then you start to see their advertising all the time, like just crazy amounts. And I guess I won't mention their names because I don't want to like blow them up. But there was a personal injury lawyer that I interacted with on behalf of a client. I was looking up for like an example. And because I had interacted with those videos, I started to see those videos. I mean, I started to like note how often I was seeing them. That's what inspired this topic for today, because I started to note that I was seeing, once I started counting, I saw them 15, 20 times in a week. And I'm still seeing them now. And it's been at least 30 days since I saw them. So I don't know. I wanted to just say like 3 times a week is probably like the maximum I would ever recommend for a frequency. And any more than that, I think you run the danger of giving your audience ad fatigue. What say you, Bayleigh? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what really sucks for the small businesses is because their names aren't as common, like they don't have that brand awareness. It becomes more obvious when this happens to like you and me. Like as soon as you started talking about this, I was like, oh, it's always the local businesses. And then you're like, oh, the local businesses.
Yeah.
Because it's set up improperly. So unfortunately, you're more likely to recognize when Melbourne's finest food spot advertises to you 8 times in a week versus if Nike advertises to you 8 times in a week, because you're more used to seeing Nike here and there, right? So if you get a Nike ad 8 times, you just scroll past it, whatever. You don't even like acknowledge it at this point. But because it's like a brand new name, you're like, oh my God, why does this keep coming up? Like, obviously I don't care. Like, in something me specifically, like when that does happen, because we've talked about it plenty of times, of like the eye recognition on your phone. I try so hard not to look at it. Like if it's something that I'm like, stop advertising this to me, I'm like, scroll past it, because I don't know how else to like not get it. Like, yeah, I could say stop recommending this to me, but I don't like to give them data. So
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I totally, I agree with that. I think that's, I end up in the similar position. I mean, the eye contact, is probably a little extreme, but
I know.
I try to make sure though that I don't pause. I'm like,
I don't pause on it. Like I don't I don't
absolutely.
click into the comments or anything.
Yeah, and you can tell when they really kind of messed it up, because even when you do that, you still are in there. You're still in the bubble. And one thing that I think is different too about when like if like Nike does it, for example, is that Nike, because there is a way to set up brand awareness where you're right in that sweet spot where it's like I do see them all the time, but I'm not really irritated by it. You're like, it's like, especially if it's someone that you are in the target market for, like Nike, just knowing you as a person, I'm guessing that you've owned a pair of Nikes or Nike clothes at some point in your life. And just because you're athletic in some capacity, certainly as a coach. And so like Nike is kind of a welcome addition to your life, or a little bit of marketing from Nike is probably like, we're like, wow, this is a cool shirt or whatever. And so the reason I'm saying that is like there is a way to create brand awareness for those small businesses. It really goes into, I mean, it's like obviously what we talk about all the time, which is kind of why I picked this topic because it goes into like best practice setup. The problem is really, it's not that they're the person, the example that I used, the personal injury attorney that I'm thinking of, when they set it up, if they had done a brand awareness objective, it would have already known to remove people after they've seen the brand awareness, after they've seen the ad, and it would only show it to them, a couple times, and then it puts you into a different category after they've created the awareness. Now you're in kind of like basically like maintenance mode, and they'll show it to you like once a week or twice a week, and that's better for the advertiser because you're not wasting money on impressions that you don't need. You're not just like pouring money away. In this case, obviously the ad was set up for a different objective. And instead of creating brand awareness, which is what they, I guess, are probably looking for, or that's kind of where what they can get, they're looking for conversions or link clicks or something like that, which they don't have a big enough audience to ask for. They're asking the platform to give them basically leads, and leads only work if you have a big, there's like a small group of a small percentage of people that you show your ad to that will be a good lead. And it might be less than 1 in 100. It's often less than 1 in 100. It's like maybe 1 in 1,000 is a good lead. And so you need to show, maybe it's 1 in 5,000 for a lot of, for a business like that, for a personal injury attorney, it might be 1 in 10,000. And so if your audience is only 100 people, it's never going to get a lead out of me, but the 100 people, it's just going to keep showing me the ad over and over again until I either tell it to stop showing it to me or I give them the lead. And so anyway, that's why I think,
it
it's
honestly
really
kind of like you describing it like that kind of makes me think of like STEM sample sizes. Like when you're running a study of any kind, like if you have a smaller sample size, you're not going to like fully get a grasp of like what you're trying to test, what you're trying to understand about that data. You have to have a larger sample size to actually like find what you're looking for. And I like that is like that same type of pattern is the same here with the same audience. You can't have a small audience and expect big things out of it. It just doesn't work like that.
Exactly. And that's why like budget and audience size are so important. And like if someone comes to me and they're like, my ads aren't working, I guarantee there's a problem in one of those two things. It's either the budget is too small to reach enough people, or the audience is too small because they've over targeted. So again, back to this personal injury example, if they just, instead of saying I only want people who have engaged with me, that's what they're thinking is like, and that makes sense logically. I get why you would think
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I only want to show these ads to people who, they've set up essentially a retargeting ad. But the problem is that's kind of like a I don't know, 2020 strategy, and it's 2025. Now we don't do that anymore because of the reasons that I'm describing. Instead, you have to set it up.
Like people have the right intentions. They just don't know the tool well enough to understand what they're doing.
And it's a perfect example of just like this business moves so fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's why like having an agency is probably kind of nice, because we can see it, because we manage, a number of different clients that are advertising. We can look a little bit high level. I mean, and just kind of see like an overall trend. Okay, this isn't just your business that's having this problem. This is something that's
overall, like across the industry.
All of them. Yeah. And I mean, the adpocalypse, which I've talked about a lot, but when cookies and everything, when we got limited on that, everything changed. And so if you're using like a 2020 strategy, like the retargeting thing that I just described, you are for sure wasting money, wasting impressions, and that's what's going on here. So if you are like, if you wanted to audit, if anyone watching this wanted to audit their own ads, check and see what your frequency is. And the way you can do that, an easy way to do that, is to look at your reach.
Impeachments?
Your impressions and your reach. Reach is unique, impressions is not. So just take whatever your reach is and divide it by impressions. Did I say that right? Impressions divided by reach, and that'll give you your overall frequency. So you can say these unique people saw my ads an average of 3 times or 6 times or 10 times or whatever. And that's a good way to find out if you're messing it up. If you're messing that up.
Let us know if you need any help.
Yeah. Okay. Now